It seems like whenever I talk about which graphics card you should buy or do a build list video, I see a bunch of arguing in the comment section over whether you'd have to be an idiot to buy a GPU right now, despite the fact that the prices are the lowest they've been in a couple of years. But then there's people arguing that if you don't buy now, you're going to be absolutely screwed. And they're both giving the same reason. Next-gen graphics cards are around the corner. And some people feel like that's going to put downward pressure on the prices of current GPUs. They'll come down, so buying now would be dumb. You're wasting your money. And then other people think that we're going to see a repeat of the 2020 launches, which saw the what we hope to just be the initial wave of scalpers and low supply turn into almost 2 years of scalpers and low supply. So what's it going to be? Should you buy now or should you wait? Well, first, let's try to establish a timeline so we have some idea how much time, how much waiting are we talking about if we do talk about waiting. So if we dive into the latest rumors, we can see some conflicting reports. From WCCF Tech, this is the most recent leak regarding specific release timing windows. And this is about a month pushed back compared to what we had seen just days before. So both video cards and WCCF Tech have cited their own sources, not giving us one of the well-known leakers or anything like that to judge off of, but they've given us different information. They're agreeing on a number of things, though, that we'll see the 4090 first, followed by the 4080, then the 4070, and these spaced out a month or so apart from each other. I mean, they'll be released in consecutive months, although, whether that's exactly a month apart or 3 weeks apart. And this would mostly fit what we saw with the previous generation launch, although we kind of saw the 4080 first, the 3080 first, and then the 3090. This looks like it might come in with that highest end GPU first. Now, again, WCCF Tech is giving different dates than video cards. Video cards was reporting that we could see the 4090 as soon as August, 4080 in September, and 4070 in October. Again, the WCCF Tech dates are listing 4090 in October, RTX 4080 in November, and 4070 in December. And then the 4060, which realistically, if we go by like the Steam hardware survey, most people are buying the 60 class or lower, even the 50 class GPUs. So these will be the real popular one that most people are waiting for, is to bring prices down to a reasonable point. Well, we'll talk about what I expect to see there. But we're expecting a CES 2023 release, or at least announcement possible for this. Now, I looked up the dates for that. That is January 5th of 2023. So we would expect an announcement for the 4060 in the beginning of 2023, and then the release would follow, but who knows exactly how close to that. Now, I actually, between these two rumored launch schedules, I believe this one. This seems completely reasonable to me, and it's what I've kind of expected all along. Now, why is that? Well, a couple of things. Number one, it's about a 2-year release cadence. That's just normal. It's usually about a 2-year release cycle, and I don't really see a lot of incentive to rush the launch when that's going to make the add-in board partners completely furious. We're talking like EVGA, Asus, all of them, the ones who actually build the graphics cards with the non-reference coolers. They've got a huge supply of RTX 3000 series cards right now. The availability has been going up, prices have been coming down, and I don't think they've been lowering prices as fast as they could be if they actually wanted to sell through all of their inventory on a lot of these models. I think that they're sitting on a lot of stock right now because they placed those orders a while back when everything sold out at ridiculous prices instantly. And those orders are getting fulfilled now, but people are less willing to buy at the ridiculous prices. So I think there's a lot of inventory here. And I think NVIDIA could make them kind of mad if they rush that launch. So I think sticking to the normal 2-year release cadence actually is what I would expect. We'll see if we get different leaks and what ends up happening. Now, for most of you who are sitting there wanting to buy a mid-range card and you're just wanting downward pressure on those prices, I think that means that you actually have a long wait if you're planning on waiting. Now, here's the thing. Another reason why I think it makes sense that the 4090 will come first, and then these other cards will kind of trickle in over time, and why I think you'll have a long time to wait to see downward pressure on the mid-range and lower-end GPUs, well, is because of what they've learned. They have learned that there is a market, and it's not just miners, it's also the high-end enthusiasts, who will pay an absolutely insane price tag for a high-end GPU. We saw RTX 3090s going for around $3,000 for over a year. So I think it makes sense for them to launch the 4090 first, and I think they'll put an MSRP on it that's already insanely high. I'm talking, I would expect around $2,000, of course, give or take a few hundred. Now, the thing is, that's not going to put downward pricing pressure on most of the rest of the GPUs, and I think that's partially the point. I think that, again, the board partners and NVIDIA still want to be able to sell their RTX 3000 cards supply as long as they can going into the 4000 series launch. I don't think they want to have everybody hold off on that. So if you see, the 4090 coming in, let's call it $2,000, then there's no reason for a 3080 to have price pressure on it when they're already selling for around $800 to $850. It's already significantly cheaper. Now, I would then expect the RTX 4080 to come in, and this is going to eclipse the performance of the 3090 and 3090 Ti. So this is where we might see some downward pressure, I think, on those GPUs. But I think, first of all, I think MSRPs will go up. I don't expect to see the 4080 listed for $700 MSRP. I think at least $800, if not $900 to $1,000, would be where I would expect to see the MSRP of this card. I don't have any insider information. That's just what I expect based on what we've seen in the market. Now, what do I think that means? I think the 4080, if its reference models are around $800, I expect those to be selling out and scalped for the first several months, and for them to actually be selling at least in the $1,500 range online, on eBay, things like that. And I think the AIB non-reference coolers will probably be, again, listed for hundreds of dollars above the reference like we saw with the 3000 series, at least initially. And that means that I think that this will put some downward pressure on RTX 3080 class cards and your 3080 Ti's, your 3090s. If it beats those for around that $1,000 to a little bit above price, I think we could start to see some downward pressure there, but it's just going to be the top end kind of pushing into the mid-range segment currently. In other words, I think we might start to see 3080s actually selling for around their original MSRP of $700 to get them cheaper than the 4080, but I'm not sure we're really going to see them tank much below MSRP. Again, I could be completely wrong, but this is what I expect, and I think this is why they're releasing in this order. And then I would imagine a 4070 to at least compete with a 3080. And I also, again, would be shocked if we saw a $500 MSRP on this. I think they've just learned that they can charge more. And even if they do set a $500 MSRP, we've seen how meaningless the MSRPs are compared to the actual GPU pricing. Now, I don't expect the GPU pricing to be as bad or stay as bad as they were with the 3000 series, because that was fueled in a large part by crypto mining profitability. And unless we see crypto markets surge, which they certainly could, that's not a possibility that we can rule out. But let's say it doesn't pick up. I think it's just going to be the initial couple months of low supply because the gaming enthusiasts want it. And I think that they could at least start out with a $600 price tag on these. And I think once the 4070's out, if 3080s are still being produced or in supply, that would have to then finally force 3080 pricing down a bit. But I'm not expecting, at least at first, to see huge gains in price to performance. I think what we're mostly going to see is just see the 4000 series come in more expensive than the 3000 series cards, both in terms of MSRP and their actual selling prices. Now, the 4060, we're actually seeing rumors now of the 4060 coming in with higher power draw than an RTX 3070, and this is from Copite 7 Kimi, whatever. I can't pronounce it. You guys always correct me in the comments. Anyway, could be coming in with higher power draw than a 3070, which means I would expect it to outperform a 3070. And perhaps even get into, 3080 territory. But again, we're kind of speculating on that. Now, I think if that's the case, then this is when we could really actually start to see pricing pressure on the 3080 to get actually kind of cheap. But what will the 4060 cost? The 3060s are still holding around $400 at this point in their release cycle, and with crypto pricing down. So I don't expect to see another $329 60 class MSRP. I wouldn't be surprised if it lists at least $400, and then the non-reference designs come in above that. Now, again, I do think that the CES 2023 makes a lot of sense for that announcement, and so that's pushing out into January. Another reason why that makes sense is the RTX 3060 was announced in January and came out in late February of 2021, so that would again stick to that kind of 2-year release cadence. And then we've got the RTX 3050. Didn't come out until January of 2022. Now, that was a weird market we were in, so we might not have to wait that long for a 4050, but again, I think it still could be a year away. So, what am I getting at here for the point of the video to wrap it up? I think that if you want to buy a GPU right now, that's not a stupid decision. I think that the soonest we'll start to see prices come down is going to be on the higher end current GPUs, and I don't expect that to happen at least significantly. Like, prices are still coming down. I think current prices will slip a little bit, but I think we've already seen the largest decline that we're going to see until we start seeing 4080s and especially 4070s in the market, and that could be the end of the year. Now, you have the time value of your money. So are you a student where you're about to have summer off and you'd have huge amounts of free time that you want to be gaming on a new PC or with a new graphics card? Great. It might be worth it to just get one now. Because when these new cards come out, they're not going to decrease the performance of your current card. They might decrease the price you could have bought it for if you had waited. But if you're buying a 3080 right now, it's not like it's suddenly going to be a bad GPU just because these launched. You're still going to get the performance that you purchased, and it'll still take a while before games are pushing such high graphics settings that the 3080 is going to be struggling at 1440p or something like that. Now, if you're sitting in at the low end, or mid-range, like I said, I think it's going to be a long time before we see significant pricing pressure compared to where we're currently at. I mean, I think we'll see things come down a bit in the meantime, but not such a massive amount that I think buying now is stupid. So in general, I think that buying now actually does make sense. But it also can make sense to wait. Why should you wait? If your current PC is actually just good enough already, like, can you play the games that you want to play? Is this more of just you've just got that itch to upgrade, but you don't really need an upgrade? I understand that feeling, trust me. If that's the case, then I think that we are close enough to the next gen, especially if you're planning on buying at the high end, that you could go ahead and wait if what you've currently got is still getting the job done. But if you don't have a PC at all right now, you just want to get into the space, but people are telling you, don't buy now, buy later, but you just want your first gaming PC, buy now. Or if you're on some like incredibly low-end stuff that just can't run the games that you're interested in. Again, these are the best prices currently that we've had in almost 2 years. It's been at least a year and a half. So, you know, I don't think there's anything wrong with taking advantage of that finally. Yes, on a long time scale, the components you buy now will be available for lower prices in the future, or you'll be able to get better performance at the same price. But that's just how computers work, and that's nothing special to the current market. That's how it always is. You can always wait and get more for your money, but that means you'll never get anything because you kept waiting. I hope all of you have an excellent day.